Hello and welcome to A Lifetime Later. She's Camille.
And this is Ruben.
So if you are first coming across this video or you've watched our others, you would know by now that we've been displaced for about 3 months. We're finally back in our home and we are super, super excited. We've been in our home for about a week and a half. We got in right before Christmas. And we're just kind of creating this last video in our Surviving Water Damage series because we want to kind of tie a bow on everything. But we also wanted to take the time that YouTube gives us that we can't do on our other channels. So you can always check us out on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook for the shorter videos or to connect with us there. But we wanted to create the longer one where we could talk a little bit more about the experience of the last few months.
Yeah. So through this process, we have received a lot of advice, a lot of support, and we are very thankful for that. One big tip was to hire a public adjuster.
I was going to ask you, like, what do you think the biggest decision we made throughout the process is? And I would 1,000% agree with you on that. A public adjuster, and we were telling each other this a lot during this experience, like, man, we're so glad we hired a public adjuster. Makes all the difference.
Yes,
Makes all the difference.
So shout out to my cousin Manishka. Who,
Manishka, thank you for that advice. The moment Camille called her and said X, Y, and Z happened at home, she said, get a public adjuster.
Yeah.
Best decision we made.
Best decision. Because there were things that, my cousin Daphne also kind of shared her experience and how she was fighting for months when she had went through something. And then the minute she hired a public adjuster, they quickly gave her...
Public adjusters, they know what to do. They carry some weight. They really do. Public adjusters will definitely get you more money than just going in it by yourself.
Yes.
They're knowledgeable, and they know what they're doing. And the best thing about a public adjuster is not the fee, but it's the fact that if they're charging you a fee, they're going to make sure they get you more money.
Yes,
yes.
Yeah. And then I would say the next company that we really worked well with was our pack out company.
So let's mention specifically, do we want to mention the specific names of the companies in this video? What do you think?
You can definitely reach out to us privately.
Okay,
and,
all right,
and
that's fair.
We will share the information.
Yeah. So we're just going to talk generally about our experience. We won't name names, but just know that overall we had a good experience.
Yes.
We had a good experience.
So the pack out company, because the insurance said that we could not stay here. At first we're like, why not? But we quickly learned, yes, we could not stay here while the house was being renovated.
Way too much work to do. And when we walked in that one night after they started the renovations where they had the dumpster outside and they gutted the inside, we're like, well, that's why we couldn't stay here. Because there's no floor and no ceiling and there's no kitchen or anything like that. Yeah, we couldn't stay here. But we thought we could at one point.
Yeah, we thought so. We hired a lot of we interviewed a lot of different contractors. The pack out company wrapped our belongings and shipped it out and held it in a climate controlled storage unit. So that was good. They were very meticulous, recorded everything.
Me personally, I think that the pack out company was far and beyond the best experience, period. They took such good care of all the contents in our home. Let me tell y'all, like, they photograph everything and they set it up exactly how they found it. They wrap everything, they saran wrap it, they catalog everything meticulously. Really, really good service. The pack out and the pack in team are one and the same, but they put everything back just about perfect.
They even made our beds.
They even made our beds. I remember walking into one of the rooms, and one of the young ladies, part of the pack out crew, she was looking at her phone with the pictures on it and putting everything on the dresser exactly how it was when they found it. And I was just blown away by it. So the pack out company was a phenomenal experience. It really was.
So that was good. We've made a lot of changes to our home. It looks like a brand new house, in my opinion.
It does. It does.
So I think that overall they did a great job.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's a couple of places where the details were not addressed or taken care of, and that probably might have more of a bad taste in Ruben's mouth.
Well, I will say this, we made a decision based on seeing their work. And so that creates a certain expectation. And so when they don't always meet the expectation, you're going like what's up? Like where's the disconnect,
Yeah.
So that's we'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Overall they did a great job. They
Yep.
gave us recommendations on how they can do a couple of things, and I really am happy with the work.
Yeah.
And just the little things there, like maybe like something kind of fell apart that they have to come back and fix. So, but what I have seen is that no contractor is perfect.
Yeah, that's true.
It's their team. It's not them.
No contract is perfect. You're right.
Yeah. So, but overall, we've been here for a week and a half. We feel safe here.
Yep.
Nothing has happened to us, and like the kitchen didn't fall apart or anything like that. So we cooked in it and everything. So we're happy.
Yeah. So let's take a couple of minutes and just talk about the different companies, I guess, that we had to deal with over the last couple of months. So first there was the home restoration company, and those were the initial people that came in and kind of ripped up everything that was soggy, right?
I wasn't too happy about their work. I just feel like
a little too rough on things.
Yeah, because even though I know that we had to do a lot of work to restore the house, there are certain things I still wanted to keep.
Right. Their job was to like tear out the rest of the floor or tear out the ceiling because it was mostly damaged, or, put holes in the wall to make sure that the ventilation could get in to eliminate the chance of like mold and mildew. But they were pretty rough with a lot of stuff. They were
like, they broke my hamper and just different things that, was getting light fixtures.
It wasn't a total loss. They thought it was a total loss.
Yeah, kind of like dealing with that. So it's just kind of that was a little frustrating.
Yeah. So like we always keep saying in all these other videos, take your time, do the research. When this kind of stuff happens, you're anxious just to start the process. I know I was, but my wife has taught me like go through, do the research, and make certain decisions. It wasn't until later that we found out that the restoration company, the first company we had to deal with, they weren't even like our local one. Somehow we had contacted a restoration company like 40 or 50 miles away.
Yeah.
And they didn't tell us they were 50 miles away. We were trying to figure out why it takes them so long to come here every day.
They just kept on saying that they service us.
Yeah.
And I didn't put two and two together that, they serviced us, but they weren't the closest.
It would have been more convenient had they just given us to one of their sister locations a lot closer to us, instead of saying, well, we'll take you, because it was inconvenient for us. 40 or 50 miles was a big difference because they couldn't always get here on time. They'd have to show up late, which means they had to stay late, and it wasn't always convenient.
I think another takeaway is to be present. Sometimes your ideas might differ from your partner. One person might feel like you need to watch everybody like a hawk. The other person might feel like, they're professionals, they'll do their job. At the end of the day, this is your home. This is where you're going to live. And you need to be there every day sometime, even if it's just 10 minutes, to come and look at the work.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they already do one room, they're not going to come back and finish that room. So you need to come in there, and if there's a cabinet that you didn't like, or, you know, you got to be here when they're putting it up.
That's
or
true.
when
That's
they're
true.
done with the kitchen,
Yeah.
it's hard to tell them like, oh, I don't like this. And they're like, well, what can we do?
Not to cut you off, but she's being super nice about this, right? So that that person that said, oh, you don't have to keep checking on them every day. Like, they're professionals. They know what they're doing. That was me, where she was the one that was like, I'm going over to check on the house. Like, it's Tuesday. It's Wednesday. I'm going over to check on the house. So she was the one that was like, we need to stay on top of them to make sure they know what they're doing. And you know what? In hindsight, I'm glad she did, because there were times we'd come in and we'd say, oh no, that's not supposed to be that way. We need to change it. We need to fix it. We need to go lighter or darker or fix this or fix that. And you don't want to wait until the end and then you've got a half a dozen stuff and your house is finished, but because you didn't catch it along the way, it's a bigger issue to fix once it's done. Once something's installed, ripping it out is a lot easier than fixing it when it's just partially done. So yeah. So after the restoration company, we talked about the pack out company, which we thought was amazing. They come in, they wrap everything up, they take it out, they store it remotely, they bring it back, and they communicate with you along the way. The pack out company that we dealt with, they sent us a file with all of the photos in them and every last item that they took out of our home, which was the entire contents of the home. They only left one thing in our home, and that was the headboard to the bed in our master bedroom, because it was simply too big to fit down the steps. But even though it was here the entire time that they were doing the construction, it came out without a spot on it because they still wrapped it and protected it, even while the contractors were able to move it around the bedroom while they were painting the walls and putting the floor in. The headboard was in one piece, and safely, because they were able to, wrap it in a blanket, saran wrap it, whatever they did, it was completely protected. So definitely do research, because if you have to empty the contents of your home, you're gonna want to make sure that it is in one piece. So after the pack out company comes what?
So then you have to choose your contractor.
Yep.
We recommend someone that has it. It depends on what time you have. If you have the luxury of not coming back home for a few months, you can maybe go with somebody that's cheaper, have less men on the team, and can take their time. But we were kind of pressed to come back, so we went with a bigger contractor.
Yeah, they were able to get multiple parts of the house done at the same time. When they were down here putting the floor in, they were upstairs painting. When they were hanging this light, they were also doing putting in a new back door. All that sort of stuff was being done at the same time.
Yes. Make sure that when you are getting reimbursement, that you kind of understand how it works. When we got the check for furniture, we didn't understand that this was a portion of the check. And
the fine print. I'm so glad you mentioned that, because that threw us for a loop.
We didn't really understand our total furniture budget. And then when the public adjuster kind of went through with it and said, no, this is how much you get now. Once you submit the receipts, they'll give you the rest of it.
Right.
And so that was, that was a good thing.
And unless you are someone who's big into contracts and you understand the fine print, ask questions, right? Get your public adjuster on the phone, ask questions until you understand. Because even though we thought we were comfortable and we knew what we were doing, there were points that threw us for a loop, like the furniture. You know, we had furniture that got damaged in our home, a kitchen table, a sofa, and a love seats that were in the room that got damaged. And we didn't understand how the payout works for the items in our home. We thought it was one amount, it turned out to be another. And so it was ultimately good news, but it was something that we didn't completely understand. We were a little unprepared for. So get them to explain all the ins and outs, how depreciation works, how the initial payout and the after the payout, because the way I understand it is that's the most common way that they do it. They do a portion now, a portion later. So get them to explain that to you if you run into any kind of damage in your home.
And again, you know, every insurance is different. That's how our insurance did it, but your insurance might do it differently. So just really ask questions so that you can understand the process.
Yeah, yeah. Overall, the last 3 months have been it's been a lot of words that we can't always find the words for. Overall, it was a big blessing. You know, we were able to update the house in ways that we had only talked about in the past, you know. But at the same time, you know, we spent weeks in a hotel and then we spent weeks in the Airbnb. Shout out to our Airbnb super host because we spent about 5 weeks in a Airbnb and it was amazing. It was a home away from home.
It really
you know, it was comfortable. It was relaxing. She was attentive. She had a mini fridge upstairs. She had a space for my wife who works from home to be able to work. It was just a beautiful, beautiful home, not less than 5 minutes away from here. So we really, you know, lucked out when it came to that because it was such a cool experience to be in our home for Thanksgiving and for part of the holidays where we felt like we were comfortable. We could sit, you know, on the furniture and have a movie night and cook a proper dinner. And so it was great that we went that route and it worked out just perfectly. It really did.
Yes, yes. So if you're in Gwinnett County and need a Airbnb, please send us a message so that we can refer you.
Yep.
This was great.
We're located in North Georgia. We live a little bit outside of the Atlanta area. So some of this might apply to you if you're in state. Others won't. You know, the company that we decided to go with, they are licensed in like 16 or 20 states, our public adjuster. So they'll take good care of you if you decide to go with them. Overall, yeah, it was important for us to kind of create this video because we wanted to kind of really close out this chapter, this portion, this part of of this journey, just to say like, yay, we made it, we did it, we survived, you know. And we appreciate, you know, bringing you along for the ride, and hopefully you've learned something through this experience. You know, check out the other videos that we recorded. I think we did at least 3 or 4 other videos as part of this Surviving Water Damage series. So check those out because we share a lot along the way, from the very beginning of just what this experience was like for us through walking in that night and it's raining on the inside of our home, to everything along the way and what it's been like to work with contractors and pack out people and the one landlord that we decided not to go with, and then the super host who we absolutely loved, and the home restoration company, and everyone in between. So if you've got questions, you can either DM us on our other channels on TikTok or Facebook or Instagram, or you can just leave a comment on this video and we'd love to be able to help answer any questions you have, point you in the right direction if we can.
Or send you some referrals.
Yeah. So thanks for watching this video. We really appreciate you. Thank you for all the encouragement along the way. We are so very happy to be home. Follow this channel for all things A Lifetime Later. You know, my wife and I, we reconnected after a long time apart. We dated in college, and this channel is just all about our love for each other, and all the things that come with our new life together. All right? Take care. God bless. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.